We knew that in order to build trust with the people and to have people understand, because they had plenty of information, they needed to know, whom to trust. So that we knew that we needed to speak with one voice, and so we're all more likely to believe something if the CEO says whatever he says is also close to what's in the newspaper, and what my neighbors say over the. So we gathered all the communicators in the company, and there were some that reported to some functional groups, and there were about 50 people in corporate communication, which, by the way, included intranet and events and those sort of things as well. But we got people together and we worked as one group. We had a project room set aside that we met with a lock on the door, and in essence, we made the commitment that we were going to work together as one system and one team. For example, if you happen to be responsible for finance, as an example, we knew, meaning everybody else knew, when you had meetings, what you did, and what was going on. And so that we worked through a change map to see, sort of also plot on the wall with post-it notes how we were moving across the organization, so you could see the bunch of post-it notes to see how we were moving through the process. We did a lot of town halls. We publicized if a group was going to be at have a town hall, we would publicize that so other people knew that the leaders were visible. We also, the intranet, we were an early adopter of SharePoint, so in fact we could have the top messages, ones that went across the enterprise, but because when you sign on, it knows what function or group that you're involved, that you work in, so then we could localize that message for you, so that when you, and if you were also a manager of employees, then in fact we might create speaking points if it were something that we wanted you to help make sure you took a leadership role in communicating to people. So we did that as well. Tied with that, we also had a company blog. We started the company blog. And part of that was for the second tactic, which had to do with trying to make our leaders more visible and to make sure that we were selling trust across the company. But in essence, we started a blog so that we could have our leaders, essentially we could talk whenever we wanted to, and we could also listen. So if there was something in the news externally, we could see if people were talking about it inside. Likewise, if we wanted to have our leaders say something new more than one time in a day, or maybe nothing for a week, that's accepted on a blog. But if somebody has a regular column, people sort of expect it to be done at the rhythm at which you typically do, or otherwise they want to know why is it not there, or why did you come earlier than you did. We were selling trust, and it's important, again, when I say that I always make the comment that we never thought what would happen that happened. And so therefore we really wanted people to trust our leaders and trust what we were trying to do. We needed the people who were in the front lines with the customers to basically, give people, the assurance that we were safe and sound. Obviously we didn't want to create any sort of a panic situation, and we wanted the people serving the customers directly to feel comfortable telling them, the truth. So we were very open up front with people to make sure that they knew as much as we possibly could tell them. So we did that by making our senior leaders as visible as possible. That was our CEO. When he would go out, sometimes, CEO okay. Actually would take his dog sometimes. And that may sound silly. Some people might not think that was okay, but he did that because he found out that when he carried his dog, he wouldn't do it on the stage, but if he had his dog with him when he was greeting a group that might be coming together, might be bused to a place so that we could have a town hall, he found out that people would talk to him. If he had his dog there, they would come up to him and talk to him about their dog, and so it sort of changed the conversation versus him being the CEO. None of us had ever experienced anything like this. And most of us as communicators are used to writing about, oh, maybe it's a restructuring, maybe there are some folks somewhere losing a job, a portion of your team is going away or whatever. But in essence, we were faced with everyone's viability was going away. So this really, we were aware that the change and the downturn really took a toll on people. So we had to constantly be aware of, these are real people, and these are our own people. Some of the messengers are people that, everyone was affected. And so you couldn't forget the fact that we were human beings too. Did a lot of things with, career planning. We talked, in my group, we spent a lot of time talking about issues, how it was going at home even, obviously we didn't turn it into therapy sessions, but we did talk about a lot of different sort of things of how things like this can affect people, so they could maybe see themselves. We also spent some time on some career development, meaning that we would have optional sessions of something that people, like if you were really good at something, then we would say, why don't you create a session? So we would invite everyone on the team and people could go, and we had terrific turnout at those. We had just gotten a new CEO, by the way, on September 7th, and I jokingly showed the cover of my 100-day plan, which, the joke's on me, because that's another evidence that we never dreamed that this would happen. And so we were very much planning what we were going to do with our new CEO and make sure that, he had the trust of people and that he was talking with people candidly. But on September 25th, about midday, we heard that Congress was having problems getting the votes for the $700 billion capital raise that they were trying to do. And there was word that, in fact, some banks might be impacted. Officially knew that we were going to be seized later in the day, that, in fact, the feds were going to come in the building. And so we started and prepared a statement because fundamentally we were, my goal, of course, was that employees would hear directly from our CEO just the facts. And our CEO was traveling. They were on an airplane, coming back because they'd been talking with different leaders in Washington, D.C. and in New York. And I was standing next to the chairman of the board, actually, and we were talking about whether or not we, in fact, would send this to the employees. And then we were told that Jamie Dimon was going to be addressing all of our employees, the CEO of Chase, that he would be addressing all of our employees at Essence. People were quite solemn and knew, what did this mean? It was partly a loss of a dream because we had all been working hard to try to make sure that we could continue.